Welcome. Let's talk about Bhojshala verdict, the judgment given by Madhya Pradesh High Court. Of course, this was a dispute between Bhojshala temple versus Kamal Maula Mosque complex in Dhar, Madhya Pradesh. We know that after a lot of debates, the Madhya Pradesh High Court delivered a judgment. The court ruled that Bhojshala historically functioned as a Sanskrit learning center and a temple dedicated to goddess Saraswati Vagdevi before medieval period. How they came to that conclusion? Because the ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, survey and the historical records indicated that the current structure contains remains and archaeological fragments from earlier temples. In 2003, ASI arrangements allowing Hindu puja on Tuesdays and Muslim namaz on Friday was set aside by the court now through this judgment. So the court recognized that the primary historical character is as a temple, not the Muslim. So the court said you arrange separate place for namaz, and this should be specifically for the temple. So this is the judgment. So the judgment really relied on basically ASI Archaeological Scientific Survey, inscriptions, archaeological findings, and historical literature linked to Raj Bhoja's Parmar dynasty. So only these four they relied and given the judgment. Here the problem is that fundamentally the problem that comes is that it doesn't matter it is a temple's property or mosque's masjid property or whatever, whosoever property they will claim, they have that fundamental right. But the problem comes is that where will it end? Because the Muslims, they raided on India, they captured India somewhere in medieval period. Before that, every property belongs to Hindu temples. That means now all the Muslim properties, once they are Hindu properties only, because the Muslims were not there when Aryans came to India. Aryans first came to India, then some dynasties, and then the Muslims, then the Christian, the Britishers, and then now the freedom of, we got free independence. So before Muslims, every property belongs to Aryans. So then how do you claim that this is Muslim property, this is Hindu property, then everything is a Hindu property, right? So if you start opening these disputes, there will be no place for Muslims will be left over. Everything has to be converted as Hindu temples because everything it is coming from ancient period. So here another question comes is that's why there was there was a Places of Worship Act 1947 August 15 when we got independence. They made an act that we should not tamper the existing temples. It can be some are under the Muslim control, some are Hindu control, some are local governance control. Then we should not tamper with all those things. So there was a kind of agreement that's a status quo of the Places of Worship Act 1940s. After 1947 they kept that. Now if everybody starts going to the court claiming the properties based on the historical from where it started, then what about there are many Buddhist sites they converted into Hindu temples? Then even Buddhists start claiming, then many Hindu temples they have to give back to the Buddhists. There are many sacred tribal lands that were taken over, tribals lands were taken over. Caste oppression within the temples is a history. So all these things has to be, you have to go back and dig everything. Maybe That's actually the argument of the India bloc. India bloc people are arguing this. So there should not be, there should be an end for it, because if everything we are claiming, there is religious conflicts may come. So archaeologically cannot automatically decide ownership, right? If you go archaeological sites, if you start digging the land, what is inside, we'll find everything. Majority and anxiety is that unnecessarily it will trigger religious conflicts. Instead of that, why can't we focus on unemployment, inflation, education, healthcare, right? And sometimes archaeological ASI neutrality is one of the concerns. Then ASI, they're just digging, they're finding something and then say that this belongs to Hindus and this belongs to Muslims, this belongs to Christians, so it belongs. So the report of archaeological, the neutrality of the archaeological ASI is also one of the concerns. So secular state versus civilization state debate will come. So it's going to be a big issue. Here there is one core argument comes is that there is something called migration. The human history everywhere involved in migration, conquest, assimilation, religious transformation, dynasty change, caste domination, and colonial occupation. This many changes that took place in India. So then where do we stop in history? We are going back to history and claiming that this belongs to so-and-so. So where we end, why should we stop there at a medieval claim? Why can't we go even before that? If you go even before that, before Mughals there are Sultanites, before Sultanites there is Rajput kingdoms, before Rajput king there is Buddhist and Jain dominance, before Jain dominance there is Brahminical dominance, before Brahminical dominance there is Aryan dominance, before Aryan dominance there is tribal indigenous worship system, and before that Indo-Aryan cultures there is earlier indigenous civilizations, that is Adivasis. From there, if we claim that, then everybody start claiming that we are historically it belongs to us. Then if Adivasis start claiming that historically this land belongs to us, then where do we stop? So there should be, that's actually the main concern. People were expressing the doubt on these historical sites. Aryan migration and cultural layer argument also is there. Historical priority determines one share. If historical priority is the reason to determine ownership, then what about pre-Vedic indigenous communities? If they reclaim all land, these Adivasis and tribals, who are the indigenous communities, who are the Mula Nivasi communities, if they claim the entire land, it belongs to us, then what will happen? So it's a big issue. And there is an argument around Dalit and Bhujan temple appropriation argument also is there. There are many local folk deities, Dalit deities, Adivasi gods, village mother goddesses, and all these were transformed into a modern Hindu temples. Then what if these Adivasis and all these people, they start claiming that Adivasi gods, Dalit gods, village mother goddesses, and if they go back into the history and started digging, then what will happen? So this all will confuse the entire India. Religious conflicts and communal conflicts may lead to even more unemployment, more economy fall down. So many things may happen. This is actually the argument of India bloc leaders. They are arguing on this case. We know that there are many Buddhist to Hindu temple conversion also took place. Mahabodh temple historically it came under Hindu Mahant control for a long period. Several Buddhist stupas were converted as temples. Jain Buddhist iconography, they were absorbed into Hindu traditions. So then if a Buddhist starts claiming all those lands, and then again it will be a problem. So tribals and Adivasi sacred land argument also is there. Sacred groves, hill shrines, natural worship spaces by the Adivasis, they were converted as Hindu temples. Many hills they turned into Hindu temples, but they're actually Adivasis cultural, devotional hills. So colonial property logic argument also will definitely come. Redraw temple ownership then before colonial administration itself. There is a temple ownership, religious identities and modern land records and categorized communities. If you look into everything, there's a lot of confusion will be there if you start digging from the beginning. That's why we should stop modern constitution. We should rely on the modern constitution, not on the ancient history. Modern India is based on the citizenship, constitutional law and current legal order, not on undergoing historical conquest. If you go into the historical conquest, it's endless litigation, communal instability, caste conflicts will come, and competing victimhood narratives will come. So every monument has layered history. Historians often described Indian civilization layered actually, like one tribal worship is, then Buddhist phase, then Hindu phase, then Islamic phase, then colonial reconstruction. There are different phases. Tribal worship phase 1, Buddhist tribal worship turned into Buddhist phase 2, phase 3 is Hindu phase, and phase 3 is Islamic phase, and phase 4 is now colonial reconstruction, and now we are in the 6th phase, that is constitutional phase. So why should we go into the selective memory argument? What about caste oppression, untouchability, landlessness, bonded labor, destruction of Dalit culture, spaces, and all these things will come into scene. So that's why we should depend on the constitutional stability instead of all these historical ancient things. The constitution was designed to create peace among present citizens, not permanent conflict over ancient rulers. So we want present peace, the peaceful India at present. This constitution wanted peaceful coordination between the citizens of India. Instead of fighting over the ancient period properties, nations should survive based on deciding where history ends. It's not that constitutional democracy or where the constitutional democracy begins. If every community starts reclaiming the past, no community will have a secure future. History is layered, citizenship must be equal. Modern democracy cannot become an archaeological battlefield. If historian conquest invalidates present ownership, then no land title in human is final. A constitutional republic cannot run on civilization revenge. You cannot selectively go back to 16th century and ignoring the 10th century or 2nd century, even before Adivasi and Mulnivasi period. If reclamation politics becomes universal, then every dominant group in history will also become occupiers, because all these lands belong to Dalits, Adivasis and indigenous group, and everything was conquered, captured, taken back. All the lands were pulled and kabja they did from the Dalits and Adivasis. Then if you start digging, then none of the owners are now the present owners of the land. Everything belongs to the Adivasis and indigenous group. So that's why let us hope that India will go with peaceful India. We'll have a peaceful life where coordination between Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Jain, SC, ST, BC, and we all should have the coordination and live as brothers instead of fighting all these things. Thank you. Namaskar. This is my opinion.